Okay, I want to look at the Jeffrey Epstein situation. So there are a lot of wild theories. Um, like a lot of wild things look like they're true in the Jeffrey Epstein situation, and that's, in my opinion, caused a lot of people to go further and to create even wilder things because the original wild things they said, like they turned out to be true, and so now they go further, and there's some crazy theories of what happened out there, and I want to have a neutral look at it. Let's see what's actually true. I've been hearing a lot about the Epstein files recently in the news. Um, the claims range from prostitution out of a pizzeria to ritualistic child murder, and I have no idea what is true. Can you go through some of the information that has been made public and go through the main claims and give me your opinion on their reliability? Let's see. Okay, I'll go until it actually starts giving me a response. This is genuinely confusing topic because real documented crimes have gotten tangled up with conspiracy theories that have no evidence behind them. The most useful thing I can do is sort the claims into tiers by how well they're actually supported. Let me do that. That is exactly what I want you to do. What's firmly established? Jeffrey Epstein was a convicted sex offender who sexually abused and trafficked underage girls. This isn't in dispute. So, I mean, right there, underage girls. Uh, yeah, that part appears to be true. He pleaded guilty in 2008 in Florida to soliciting prostitution from a minor, registered as a sex offender, and was arrested again in 2019 on federal sex trafficking charges before dying in his jail cell. His associate, Ghislaine Maxwell, was convicted by a federal jury in New York in 2021 as of sex trafficking for helping recruit underage victims and is serving a 20-year sentence. She got 20 years for her crimes. Like, there was multiple counts of this. Don't they add up? Right? Like, shouldn't she be in jail for like 7,000 years or something? Because this wasn't a one-time thing. The Department of Justice's own memo confirmed he harmed more than 1,000 victims. Whoa. So the 20-year sentence times 1,000. Put her in jail for like 20,000 years. That sounds about right. That's the bedrock, and it's horrific on its own terms. The files themselves are also real. Under the Epstein File Transparency Act, signed November 2025, the Department of Justice has released nearly 3.5 million pages, plus more than 2,000 videos and 180,000 images, with the largest batch dropping January 30th, 2026. These consist of email change, text messages. The issue you run into in a lot of situations here is Jeffrey Epstein got his power through blackmail. Like, that is how he got people to do what he wanted. He would acquire legitimate blackmail material on people, but he would also acquire illegitimate blackmail material on people. And he was very good at creating blackmail material, because any association with him at all made you look like a pedophile. So if you associated with him in any way, he could turn that into blackmail material. And so that's how he kept people silent about it for so long. And so when you're looking at email chains. Like, is this an email chain? Like, Epstein was incentivized to make the email chain look bad. He was incentivized to create the email chain. What's real and what's not? No idea. No idea. You have someone incentivized to make it look as bad as possible, and it looks as bad as possible. So, like, Epstein did the blackmail part of his job very well. I can't tell what's real or what's not. And I don't know how they can possibly go through and tell what's real and what's not. And apparently, they've decided just to ignore it entirely in the US. So we'll see how that goes for them. Like, the 1,000 victims, that's real. Like, that the DOJ's own memo confirmed he harmed more than 1,000 victims. And so, as much as you can't look at anything specifically, like any email chain or text message chain that you see specifically and be like, oh, that's true. There's 1,000 victims. So clearly some of it is true. Internal investigation reports, news articles, bank statements, wire transfers, flight logs, and FBI interview summaries. What the files actually show. The documents established the breadth of Epstein's social and financial network, and he stayed connected to wealthy and powerful people, including after his 2008 conviction, where he was convicted for soliciting prostitution from a minor. So even after he was convicted, like, this is the group that's suspicious here. The wealthy and powerful people that stayed connected to him after he was already convicted of soliciting prostitution from a minor. Like, that's the group you want to look at. Several named figures have faced real consequences from what the emails reveal. I mean, like, has anyone faced consequences in the US? Like, outside of the US, association with Jeffrey Epstein will get you, like, disowned from a royal family. Did they do that? Where am I here? Let's go. What member of the royal family in the UK was associated with Epstein? What happened to him? Did they disown him? Let's see. Where were what the files actually showed? Okay, so several named figures have faced real consequences from what the emails revealed. Resignations at Goldman Sachs and elsewhere. I mean, like, that's not resigning. Isn't exactly facing consequences. Like, put him in jail. That's consequences. Okay. The Royal Prince Andrew. That's who I thought, but I didn't want to say the name of a prince and be wrong. The Duke of York, King Charles III's younger brother, and late Queen Elizabeth II's son. He was a longtime friend of Epstein, and the relationship continued even after. Even after the conviction. Yeah. The central allegation came from. Okay, what happened to him? Yes, in effect, the family did formally cut him loose in stages. The decline ran for years, but it accumulated in late 2025. In October 20th, 2025, Buckingham Palace announced that King Charles had initiated a formal process to remove his style, titles, and honor, and that he would be known simply as Andrew Mountbatten Windsor. This stripped him of both his Duke of York peerage and his birth title of Prince. He was also evicted from the Royal Lodge, the mansion near Windsor he had occupied, and removed from the official royal website and the royal of the peerage. I mean, that doesn't sound like disowning. the palace was pointed about it. It said these censures were necessary, notwithstanding his continual denial of the allegations, and empathized sympathy for the victims and survivors of abuse. I mean, to be honest, I don't see a lot of sympathy for the victims. Like, every time I see the victims, the people in power just want to make it go away. They don't. There's not a whole lot of sympathy. And I didn't see any sympathy from him. I didn't see any sympathy from the White House. I haven't seen much sympathy at all for the victims. So while disowned isn't a formal legal term, that's a fair description of the practical effect. He's now treated as a private citizen rather than a working member of the family. The most recent development goes beyond the royal demotion into legal jeopardy. In February 2026, he was arrested on suspicion of misconduct. I mean, like, if you get to the point where you're hanging out with someone convicted of soliciting prostitution from a minor, there's no coming back. Like, you've reached a stage where disowning you is not going to fix the behavior. Clearly. Suspicion of misconduct in public office following the new Epstein files revelation, then released about 11 hours later under investigation, meaning neither charged nor cleared, but his legal situation is still unresolved as of now. One thing worth keeping in mind, the criminal allegations against him, remain an allegation he denies and was settled in civil court, not proven in a criminal trial. The misconduct arrest is separate and still open matter. The title removals, by contrast, are simply done. Yeah, I mean, I would have liked to see jail time, personally. But I guess, as a prince, they just don't face the same accountability as normal people. Although he's removed from a prince now, does that mean you can go after him now? Put him in jail? Maybe. But at least outside of the US there's been some accountability. Inside the US there's like no accountability at all for associating with Jeffrey Epstein, even after he was convicted of soliciting prostitution from a minor. Okay, where were we? What's firmly established, what the files actually show. So, some resignations. A notable detail. A draft Florida indictment from the 2000s would have charged Epstein alongside roughly 3 others described as having facilitated appointments between Epstein and girls, but their names are redacted, and no one beyond Epstein and Maxwell was ever federally charged. I mean, so they know of other people. Roughly 3 others, so they know of other people that were basically, like, that's what Ghislaine Maxwell was doing, right? Facilitating appointment between Epstein and girls. So there's other people that should have been charged with Ghislaine Maxwell, and they have not been. Important caveat: appearing in the files is not evidence of a crime. Like, this is the thing, right? I mentioned this earlier. Epstein was incentivized to create blackmail material. He was incentivized to do that. I have no doubt that he did that. Now, there are real victims, like at least 1,000. So, like, there was crime, but he was also incentivized to create blackmail material. And so anything that you could have gotten from Epstein is tainted because of his incentives. Like, you can't trust it. Being in the Epstein files is not evidence of a crime. Even if he says you did crimes, this is Epstein saying you did crimes. uh, and not proof that you did crimes. So this is where it gets really murky, right? Because like from all the evidence that I see, Trump didn't overly didn't engage with this. Like he wasn't guilty of like the child stuff, right? Um, or really any of it, from my understanding. He was associated with him, but there's definitely evidence that makes him look guilty, and that evidence is acquired from Jeffrey Epstein. And so all of a sudden you can't, like, if Epstein was clearly good at creating blackmail material, and so he clearly made blackmail material about Trump, like this is just something he would do. And so what can you trust there is difficult. And all the people like Ghislaine Maxwell that they interview, they like say that he didn't do anything. And so it's so murky, because anything you hear from Epstein cannot be trusted. And that's the primary source of the Epstein files are about Epstein and what his emails and his doings, right? Okay, let's continue. I want to. Can you tell me what the victims of the Epstein files say? Can you go through their testimonies and what they say is true? Because Ghislaine Maxwell is also currently incentivized to lie or to give a very specific story, which she is given. And now that she gave the specific story that everyone expected to hear, is it true? We don't know. Let's continue. Where were we? What has no credible evidence? We were not there yet. What was investigated and not substantialized? Were we even there? Gosh, I keep getting distracted. Appearing in the files is not evidence of a crime. Absolutely. Many prominent names show up. Trump, Bill Clinton, Elon Musk, and others are mentioned but have not been tied to wrongdoings. Being in someone's contact list, emails, or flight logs means you were in their orbit, not you committed a crime. This distinction gets erased constantly in viral coverage. Absolutely. Not evidence of a crime. Like it can be used as circumstantial evidence, like if you're building a narrative for real evidence, but you still need some kind of real evidence. And there's nothing that's actually showed up there. But it doesn't look good. Being in the Epstein files does not look good, even if there is no proof that you committed the crime. It definitely is not a good look. Okay. What was investigated and not substantiated? This is where a lot of the loudest claims fall apart. The Department of Justice and FBI concluded they found no evidence that Epstein kept a client list or that he blackmailed prominent associates. What? Wasn't blackmail his whole thing? They clarified that while Epstein kept exhaustive contact lists, there was no master ledger of customers, of registers of payment for sex. I mean, why would you keep that? Right? Like, that makes sense. He absolutely blackmailed. Like, there's no evidence that he kept a client list or that he blackmailed prominently. You can read some of the emails exchanges. He was blackmailing is what he was doing. So I don't know about that one. That this is how he kept people silent about it. Like that. That is how he did it. On his death, the Department of Justice released roughly 10 hours of security footage from outside his Manhattan cell, which appeared to show no one entering before his death, supporting the conclusion that he died by suicide. Notably, FBI Director Kash Patel and Deputy Director Dan Bonjingle had themselves previously questioned the suicide finding, but after taking office acknowledged he died by suicide. You don't have to take any of this on faith, but the people now confirming it include former skeptics with every political incentive to find otherwise. So they think he really killed himself. I mean, I was hearing theories that he got out and he was let out. So I mean, if he's dead, I don't really care how it happened. I'm kind of just happy that the monster's gone. Put him in a hole or put him in a jail cell for the rest of life, and if he takes his own life, like it makes the world a little better, in my opinion. I'd flag genuine open questions here too. Like the whole thing is the Department of Justice's own memo confirmed he harmed more than 1,000 victims. Like, no matter what else you look at, he was a monster. Like, there's no getting around that. On his death, did I just read that? Yeah. I'd flag genuine open question here too. Survivors and the bipartisan authors of the Transparency Act have criticized the redactions, and the Department of Justice hasn't fully explained what's excluded. So, no evidence found is not the same as everything is resolved. Skepticism about completeness is reasonable. That's different from the special debunk claims below. So we don't have all the information yet, because there's criticism on the redactions. Like, they were going to charge roughly 3 others described as having facilitated appointments between Epstein and girls. They were going to charge this back in the 2000s, but their names are redacted. So people that were going to be charged, you can't even see their names. What has no credible evidence at all? The prostitution out of a pizzeria. What? I thought that one was proven. I thought this was just proof at this point. Okay, the prostitution out of a pizzeria and ritualistic child murder claims you mentioned aren't really about Epstein. They're Pizzagate and its QAnon descendants bleeding into the Epstein story. Okay. Pizzagate originated in 2016 from hacked John Podensky's emails, where 4chan users decided that words like cheese pizza were codified referring to child abuse, or that a DC restaurant, Comet Ping Pong, was a trafficking hub. Washington police and other authorities rejected the claims. No evidence of child trafficking, abuse, or ritualistic activity were ever found. The restaurant doesn't even have the basement the theory centered on. A believer showed... What if they cemented in the basement? Like, come on. If these claims were true, you would just cement over your basement, right? Yeah. No basement, no story. A believer showed up with AR-15 in December 2016 to self-investigate. Fired shots, found nothing, and went to prison. I thought Pizzagate was proven by the Epstein files. What? Am I just listening to like online stuff? I know I have another question down here. but I forget what it is. I don't want to keep asking it more. So we might ask about Pizzagate, if I remember. The ritualistic child murder strand comes from how Pizzagate was absorbed into QAnon, which expanded it into claims of a global elite harvesting children's blood for adrenochrome and fabricated snuff film Frazzle Dip. They made a film about it. Scholars compare this directly to the 1980s satanic panic, an era of moral hysteria and false ritual-based accusations. None of it supported by evidence, and in 2026 it's being revised specifically because amateurs noticed the word pizza appear more than 900 times in the Epstein files in Monday contexts like head counts for pizza, which tells you how the pattern matching works. So there is no credible evidence at all that Pizzagate or the ritualistic child murder happened. Very substantive evidence of Jeffrey Epstein trafficking underage girls. Okay. There's something else I wanted to talk about, and then I wanted to talk about that. Let's keep going. My honest read on reliability. The tragedy is real and large. Epstein and Maxwell trafficked and abused many underage girls, protected for years by wealth and connections. That deserves anger. The documented network of powerful associates is real, and some of those people genuinely have questions to answer. Legitimate, unresolved issues remain around redactions and transparency. But the most sensational claims, blackmail client list that he was murdered to silence. Okay. The most sensational claims, a blackmail client list that he was murdered to silence him, and especially anything involving pizzerias or ritual killings, either were investigated and unsupported or were never about Epstein to begin with and have been debunked for years. A useful filler. The closer a claim sits to the court records, convictions, and release documents, the more reliable it is, the more it depends on decoding secret meanings or invoking cabals and rituals, the less serious it's worth taking. If you want to go deeper, say what specific name figures and emails actually implicated versus merely mentioned. I mean, like, this involves real victims of abuse. It's worth adding that if any of this touches you personally and support is available. Okay. I had a question I asked. How do the Epstein files and Pizzagate relate? I was watching a video and they were telling me that the Epstein files confirm the existence of Pizzagate. And they provided some good evidence. Oh my god. Because they had me believing. Alright, well, it does its thinking. I'll update stuff. Stream info. Maybe the word Pizzagate will get people to just click on it and show up. Who knows? Okay, here we go. Short answer, no, the Epstein files don't confirm Pizzagate, and the evidence in those videos is a good case study in how a compelling feeling argument can be built out of nothing. Let me walk through exactly what they're showing you and why it doesn't hold up, because the reasoning matters more than the conclusion. What the evidence actually is. The centerpiece is almost always a word count. That's so loose. Like, People talk about pizza all the time. The word pizza appears more than 900 times across the release documents. The theory says pizza is a code word for child trafficking. This is recycled straight from the original 2016 Pizzagate cheese pizza claim. So 900 mentions sounds like a smoking gun. Some videos go further and decode specific phrases. For instance, an email with the subject U9 Red Pizza Party, which one user claims refers to the blood of children under 9 years. Okay. Why it falls apart. 3 separate problems. First, scale. The files are a massive batch of records spanning roughly 2 decades, involving many people in Epstein's orbit, not just emails with Epstein himself on them. And a corpus of 3.5 million pages of people's emails and text over 20 years, the word pizza appearing 900 times isn't surprising, as expected. People order pizza. A word count, and quite often when you purchase pizza, like, it's an event, it's a party, it's a gathering, right? Like, quite often pizza is one of those things you buy and you eat as a group when you're going to meet people. So it is one of the words that shows up more prominently in emails and messages to people. A word count that large only looks meaningful if you don't ask, compared to what? Search those same files for coffee or dinner, and you'd get similar or higher counts, frequently in a giant pile of ordinary correspondence is not a signal, it's noise. Second, the actual context. When fact checkers read the surrounding text rather than just counting the word, the mentions are mundane. Head counts for pizza at gatherings, thanks for providing pizza to a crew, casual chat about pizza and grape soda. Crucially, the supposed sinister example have explanations found elsewhere in the same case files. No credible evidence shows anyone used pizza to mean anything other than food. The U9 Red Pizza Party turned out to be an ordinary explanation when you read the rest of the document. That's the tell. The theory works only by quoting the spoken phrase and not showing you the next email. Third, and this is the big one, it's a category error. Pizzagate isn't a general claim that elites abuse kids. It's a specific claim that Hillary Clinton and John Posada ran a child sex ring out of the basement of a comic ping pong. So dumb. I mean, clearly Epstein ran a child sex ring out of somewhere, out of his ranch. So, like, it has happened. It has happened. But then Hillary Clinton and John Podesta ran it out of a comic ping pong. A particular pizzeria in Washington, D.C. That specific claim was I wonder if that pizzeria, like, leaned into it in order to, like, get free promotional content. Lean into the conspiracy, you know? Okay, that specific claim was investigated and is false on its own terms. The restaurant doesn't even have a basement. The Epstein files are about a different person, different places, different people. Even though Epstein genuinely did traffic and abuse children, that part is real and proven. That doesn't retroactively make the comic ping pong story true. 2 different claims, proving one doesn't nothing about the other. The rhetorical move to watch for. This is the engine of the whole thing. The video blur powerful people sexually abusing children. True documented horrifying Epstein into, therefore, the specific Pizzagate theory was right all along. False. The genuine horror of the Epstein case gets used to launder a separate debunked theory. It feels like vindication because the emotional claim, elites get away with abusing kids, has a real example behind it. but the emotional truth of that doesn't transfer to the factual claims about a DC pizzeria and a coded pizza emails. Oh, well, it's starting to look like Pizzagate was not real. Okay. I mean, I definitely watched videos of people relating Epstein stuff to Pizzagate, so there's also a structural reason these theories never die. Conspiracy theories tend to be self-sealing. Evidence that contradicts the theories gets reinterpreted as a proof of how deep the cover-up goes. So a fact check saying these are dinner emails becomes to a believer evidence that the fact checkers are in on it. That's not a feature of a strong theory, it's the hallmark of one that can't be falsified, which in evidence terms is a weakness, not a strength. A test you can apply yourself. When someone claims hidden coded language, ask, did they show you the decryption working both ways? Okay, I don't care. The people, all right. It's talking about other stuff now. Sounds like Pizzagate is still just a unrelated theory online. Okay. We covered that. I remember watching an Alex Jones video where he specifically went out and found like elites in a ritual of some kind. Can you go into detail for me about this? Can you provide me a link to the video? I remember watching this one a little while ago. The surprising number of times Alex Jones has been right about things.